We are here at the Ontario Medical Association, itself a body within the Canadian Medical Association, and it is in this building. Am I right? Yes. Most of you will be familiar with the urgent situation that has brought us here. In December 2024, Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya was detained in northern Gaza by the IDF without formal charge or due process. The offense is having refused to leave his colleagues and patients during a siege of his hospital by Israeli forces. Shame. Shame! You will have seen the image of his capture. Dr. Abu Safiya in his white physician's coat, walking a corridor of rubble towards a waiting Israeli tank. It is an iconic symbol of what Palestinian medical workers have endured during 3 years of genocide. Dr. Abu Safiya is the best of his profession, with no exaggeration, the best of all of us. Since that event, his capture more than 560 days ago, he has been held in a series of prisons alongside over 9,000 other Palestinian prisoners who, like him, are being held without due process. Shame. And free them all. We are now at an emergency stage. Last week, Dr. Abu Safiya was transferred from a prison to an interrogation center. There he has suffered the same sorts of brutal physical assaults that have been inflicted upon so many Palestinian prisoners. Thus far, the Canadian Medical Association, the CMA, has said nothing to condemn Israel's actions, neither in the case of Dr. Abu Safiya, nor in the case of the hundreds of his medical colleagues who have been shot and bombed while providing care or murdered in detention. Shame. We are here today to demand that the CMA break their silence and answer the global demand for freedom and justice. Free them all. If the CMA refuse, if they continue to suppress the reality of what is happening to their Palestinian colleagues, kowtowing to the racists and fascists in their ranks, it will be a permanent blight on their institution. We are here today to make it clear, at no future date will they be able to claim they didn't know. Make it clear, Israel is murdering doctors deliberately, and they're getting away with it because of the silence of institutions like the CMA. Shame! Shame! Doctors Against Genocide has a set of 3 demands. The CMA must issue a public statement calling for the immediate release of Dr. Abu Safiya, Dr. Al-Hams, and all Palestinian healthcare workers. The CMA must communicate directly with Israeli medical and governmental bodies and with the Canadian Minister of Foreign Affairs, urging intervention. The CMA must inform its membership of this crisis, given the direct threat it poses to physicians. This is an absolute minimum and must happen. We urge them to listen to Dr. Safiya himself in his own words, spoken after being injured by a bombing of his hospital. He says, "My blood is no more precious than that of my colleagues, nor of the people we serve." The CMA should be humbled by the opportunity to take on and defend the rights and dignity of practitioners like Dr. Abu Safiya and his colleagues. CMA, break your silence. Use every channel of influence to free Dr. Abu Safiya.
Break your silence.
So I'm here to speak to you as a global health professional and a prof at York University. I am someone who has spent my career building health systems, supporting the clinics, the policies, the drug supply chains, the training programs, the data systems, and the healthcare workers who come together to heal people when we're sick, to bring our babies into the world safely, and to help societies thrive. And now, like all of you, I'm here as someone who has spent 3 years watching a health system be destroyed. Israel has bombed every hospital in Gaza. Israel has killed over 1,700 doctors, nurses, and paramedics. And this is including brave Yusuf Zaino and Ahmed El Madoun, who tried to rescue little Hind Rajab while she was surrounded by her dead family. Israel has forced evacuations of hospitals where NICU babies were left to die and decompose in their incubators. Israel has killed so many people inside hospitals that the hospital grounds have become mass burial sites. Israel has shot paramedics and then buried their ambulances and bodies in a sloppy, disgusting attempt to cover up their blatant war crimes. Israel has kidnapped hundreds of healthcare workers, holding them hostage and torturing them in a network of camps. And this, of course, includes Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya, held for 560 days, starved, tortured, and beaten so severely that we don't even know if he's conscious right now. Shame. And all this time, Israel has continued to enjoy support from our government, our universities, and our medical establishments. Shame. Ontario Medical Association, Canadian Medical Association, you represent the doctors of this province and this country. Your mission is to advocate for and support doctors. You are silent about Israel's kidnapping and torture of health workers, including Dr. Abu Safiya. So we are here for Dr. Hassan Abu Safiya, stolen from his hospital as he bravely carried out his duty to serve. But as mentioned, we are also here for the 9,600 other Palestinian hostages kidnapped by Israel and being held in this network of torture centers. And we are here for Dr. Hassan Abu Safiya's patients, the children, parents, elders, young women, and young men who he refused to abandon. We are here for Palestine, and we are here for ourselves. We are here for our humanity. We want the world to know where we stand. We want to be able to look our children in the eye and say that we tried. I want to be able to stand in front of my students and say that healthcare is a noble profession, that global health is not a farce. We are here to speak out, to refuse complicity, to demand they free Dr. Abu Safiya and for a free Palestine. OMA, CMA.
Thank you.
The Israeli military who were so clearly targeting and killing young children. This year, in June 2026, the United Nations Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory produced a report titled, quote, "The essence of childhood has been destroyed," end quote. Israel's deliberate targeting of Palestinian children in the occupied Palestinian territories. Dr. Abu Safiya, like so many other Palestinian doctors, have raised the alarm bells of attacks on Palestinian children long before the Independent Commission or other international organizations have since arrived at the same conclusion. Because he spoke up and refused to abandon his patients, he's being punished and made an example of by the Israeli military.
Shame.
Shame. There are other Palestinian doctors and health workers who have been killed in Israeli captivity, and many others who still remain in Israeli custody. Daily airstrikes and bombings by the Israeli military continue to kill, maim, and terrorize the Palestinian people in Gaza. There is a responsibility for the international and Canadian medical community to strongly denounce these ongoing attacks against healthcare workers, because even in times of war, healthcare must not be a target. However, as many international human rights and humanitarian organizations called what is happening in Gaza a genocide, healthcare has become a direct target of the aggressor to prevent even the healers to continue their work, being the last line of defense for their people from extermination. Healthcare workers from all over the world have previously called for Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya's immediate release from Israeli captivity. However, the institutional silence by organizations that say they represent the Canadian medical community is deafening. Shame. I was on the board of the Canadian Medical Association in 2023 and requested that the organization put out a statement condemning the Israeli airstrike on the Al-Ahli hospital in Gaza on October 17, 2020. After all, the CMA had previously denounced Russian-led military attacks and urged for protection of Ukrainian health workers and patients. No such statement for the protection of Palestinian healthcare workers and patients has been made, still yet to this day. Shame. Dr. Abu Safiya is my medical colleague, as he is a colleague for all of us who work in healthcare around the world. The deliberate attacks on Palestinian children is abhorrent. The deliberate attacks on Palestinian health workers is abhorrent. Our Palestinian health worker colleagues deserve every bit of our solidarity. Collectively, as a medical community, we must clearly and coherently demand for the release of Dr. Abu Safiya and all healthcare workers unlawfully detained by Israel. Our shared humanity and commitment to healing is what brings us together, and to fail to meet this moment with meaningful solidarity and action pushes us further away from a future where justice, accountability, and human rights can prevail for all.
Free them all!
Free them all! Free them all!
Free them all!
Free them all! Free them all! Free them all!
Free them!
This means that now I have seen genocide from both ends. From its long, snaking tail that continues to cause devastation and destruction on these lands upon which we stand, to its gaping maw currently decimating the beautiful land of Gaza between its torpedo-shaped teeth. But it also means that I have seen what resilience, beauty, solidarity, and resistance look like from these beautiful spaces here on Turtle Island to the neighborhoods and churches and mosques and hospitals and cafes and libraries of Gaza. I have had the incomprehensible luck of knowing what sort of future is possible by witnessing the work that goes into making that future over and over again every day, amidst and within some of the most horrific conditions, by people carrying within them the truest expression of humanity and love I have ever seen. Has the CMA or the OMA ever seen what this medicine, what good medicine actually is? I read that the CMA sees part of its role as shaping the culture of medicine, and that to me was a chilling line. What culture are they shaping right now as they stand silent and complicit, their faces turned away from an active genocide wherein 2 to 3 healthcare workers are killed every day? What medical culture are they creating as they remain mute while 178 healthcare workers were killed while at work? What does a medical culture look like after it has stayed silent while bombs were dropped on hospitals? And as my friend Huda told me about the bombing of Ali Hospital on October 17, 2023, when the bodies were piled so high, she said, we couldn't leave the hospital even if we wanted to. What sort of medical culture watches impassively as one of their own, a colleague, Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya, is tortured in an underground prison for over 500 days, starved, neglected, and facing imminent death? And what does the silence of the OMA and the CMA tell us about the culture of all of the institutions that we have allowed to govern us, to represent us, to be the voice for us? As Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya sits in an occupier's dungeon for 18 months, ignored by the CMA and the OMA, what does their culture of medicine do to us? If the last 1,000 plus days have revealed anything, it has revealed a rot that exists at the core of our world, that snakes up through each and every one of these complicit institutions. In their representation of us, they threaten to tarnish us too, with the stain of their violence. It is our job not to let them. It is our job to make this long-needed change. It is our job to create new institutions, new bodies of healthcare workers that express the true desire of people here before us and the vast majority of the people in our country, institutions that place care and solidarity at the center of their work, not political expediency or a so-called neutrality, which is nothing more than cowardly and silently aiding the genocide machine. We need to build medical associations that are grounded in concepts such as that of Samud, and we only do that by turning our face to Gaza. In my time working in Al Ali Harab Hospital in Gaza City, I witnessed such an abundance of solidarity and Samud from my healthcare colleagues of every designation. I learned what solidarity looks like, what it means to resist your own erasure as an embodied phenomenon, not a concept or a statement. And solidarity looks like this. In the middle of a mass casualty event, as I am cutting away the clothes of yet another young man whose life was brutally interrupted by an occupier's weapon, my colleague Nasser reaches over and zips closed the open zipper on my backpack as it threatened to leak my precious few medical supplies onto the bloodstained floor below. It looks like Muhammad William, driver for the Indonesian team, coming down to the emergency department after every mass casualty to bring us tea with nana in it and persimmons, which are now in season, and bananas. It looks like Taima insisting we go to the beach together on our day off despite being in the middle of a genocide because we must still find moments of beauty and joy. It looks like Talal making a meal of tuna fish, the currency in which all healthcare workers were paid at that time, for everyone in the lab, and inviting me to share in it because I was there, because I donated blood, because there was food to be eaten and everyone hungry should eat it. It looks like Dr. Anwar passing me the one bottle of water that everyone shared and showing me how to hover it just above my lips so that the singular item can become a collective good. In the middle of this chaos, Palestinian healthcare workers find a way to always be looking out for each other, to always be ensuring their collective well-being, to always resisting the empire's persistent cloud of death. The doctors and nurses I worked alongside are not afraid of resisting. They are not afraid of standing together as a collective. They are not afraid of facing bombs and tanks and drones to care for their patients, which itself becomes an act of resistance as the hospital becomes a key site for the occupation's destruction of possible Palestinian futures. Change. They face forward in making a Palestinian future, persisting in making a Palestinian future, and it is our responsibility to make that future with them. How do we resist here? How do we help free Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya and to make Palestine and indigenous futures real every day from where we stand? I don't necessarily have all the answers. Yes, we should demand that the OMA and the CMA take a stand and demand Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya's release and demand accountability for those who held and tortured him for these 18 months. But what more do we need to do to ensure that we are applying the most effective pressure for Palestinian prisoner release and for healthcare worker solidarity? First, I would suggest we begin by learning more, by obtaining our understanding of what is required from us from those living through empire's violences. We should turn to the works of Ghassan Kanafani, Basal al-Araj, Larashihi, Ghassan Abu Sita, Mary Turfa, and others living and dead who can conceptualize for us how to struggle from outside the overwhelming psychic force that the empire enacts upon us all. I would suggest that we connect the issue of Palestinian prisoners and healthcare workers imprisoned with prison justice work here in Canada. Fighting to free Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya can build and connect our movements across geographies and reinscribe an internationalism into all of the work we do here. For this, I suggest we begin the work of actively demanding the revocation of terrorism designations for groups like Samidoun, a prisoners' rights organization. We cannot allow the state to dictate the terms of our collective struggle. We must take lessons from Palestine Action UK and resist the state's use of terrorism designations as a cudgel to defeat our movements here. And finally, fourth, let's ask the OMA and the CMA to demand the release of Hussam Abu Safiya, but let's also start the conversation about whether or not these associations are the ones we need right now and into the future. Are they what truly represent us, and can they ever be? Or is it the time to begin to create new representative professional bodies that better reflect our values as humans and as healthcare workers? Yes. New institutions rooted in justice, solidarity, and care that can truly represent the work we do, work which is healing, so that we can defend each other when we are attacked, and so that through our healing work we can together build a future free of empire's violence, where we and Dr. Abu Safiya and Palestine can truly be free. We do not need the CMA to shape our medical culture any more than it already has. Let the bravery of Dr. Abu Safiya and all of those who live and love and work in Gaza, in Palestine, shape the culture of our medicine going forward, a culture in which all of us will be cared for and none will be disposed of. Free Dr. Hussam Abu Safiya, free Palestine.
I deal with some of the most marginalized communities here in the country. Particularly people who fall below the poverty level. So I do work with people who are substance users, and I found my way into this work because I myself have over a decade of lived experience living on these streets. So this past winter, when my Instagram feed blew up again and again and again of videos of Palestinians living in tents, Palestinians performing surgeries without anesthesia, giving birth to children in tents, and of course trying to further their education in tents. Something within me responded to that because I have lived in tents here in this city. I've survived through winters and I have survived through heat waves, and to me the parallels were extremely clear, and so I decided I needed to get on one of those boats, and we sailed to challenge what I would call the most evil entity that this world has ever known. I guess our effort was to bring awareness not just to the fact that Canada has remained silent on so much of the genocide that has taken place. Canada is taking a very active role in this genocide. And so we went and we were able to highlight that, and we came back with demands. We made demands of the Canadian government for an arms embargo. We made a demand of our government for the cultural detachment, to end all cultural ties with Israel, openly and honestly about what is happening, and to admit Canada's active role in that. And when I say an active role, I'm talking about Canada's military involvement with both the United States and Israel, which essentially operate as two arms on the same body. Our Prime Minister speak his lovely, beautiful, colorful, flowery speech at Davos, where he promised that Canada as a middle power needed to distance itself from the military powers of the world. 60% of our military spending is currently being done with the United States. And on top of that, the so-called State of Israel is the fourth largest consumer of Canadian-made military products. And I just want to take a second to highlight how, in fact, Canada sells our weapons. So any country that is buying anything military from the government of Canada or from the military of Canada needs to access a permit. And these permits are valid for between 2 and 3 years. And I need to make special note that Canada continued to issue permits to Israel even after October of 2023. When I was out on the water and there were drones overhead, when we were approached by warships, and when the Israeli occupational soldiers came over on their Zodiacs and had their weapons trained on us, and they kept trained on us for 4 or 5 days, throughout that entire process, in the back of my mind, I kept wondering which components of that drone, which components of that gun, which components of anything that was being used in our torture was made here on Canadian stolen soil. And I do want to talk about more of the parallels between the homelessness crisis, that is the homelessness epidemic that is taking place right here in the city of Toronto, and the so-called torture that the flotilla participants experienced while we were on that warship. I kept thinking to myself again and again, we were stripped of all our warm clothing, we were left out in the elements, we were left to bake in the sun and freeze all night. We were given inadequate food and water, and when they found out that our Muslim comrades were using that water for their ablution, they denied giving us any further water. We were also kept in shipping containers, and I kept thinking to myself, you know who keeps humans in shipping containers? The Epstein class. But I found myself especially prepared to deal with this so-called torture because, again, I have lived on these streets, and it occurred to me that it was just a deliberate weaponization of the homeless experience. And so I want to talk about why the government of Canada cannot denounce Israel's war crimes, their genocide, their domicide. Has a report on domicide that is taking place in Lebanon, in Palestine, in Syria. It highlights domicide as the deliberate destruction of civilian infrastructure, including schools, including hospitals, and including homes, not for military purposes. The US and Israel have some of the most advanced surveillance technology at their disposal. So why do they keep dropping bombs on schools, hospitals, and homes? The government of Canada cannot speak out about this because A, their active role in it, and B, the reminder that this country, this ground that we stand on, these buildings, these roads are only paved, are only here because of the genocide that took place right here on Turtle Island. The government of Canada again and again and again tries to erase that from our history books. And we see the ongoing effects of this with our homelessness epidemic, with our drug poisoning crisis. The government cannot denounce what is happening when we're seeing a very similar thing here with, let's talk about Bill 60 that was passed on a provincial level last year, which makes it so much more difficult for people who are renters to hang on to their tenancy. We, since COVID, have seen a doubling of homeless people, but in fact, it's more of a tripling because the infrastructure to sustain people who are unhoused simply doesn't exist. So our government cannot denounce what is happening when they are essentially doing a parallel thing here, which is a starvation of civilian infrastructure. We are seeing a move from our own healthcare systems that they want to move to a two-tier public and private sector, the starvation of our own healthcare systems, the criminal underpayment of our nurses, doctors, and other medical specialists, including harm reduction workers. And of course, the denial of an access to further education that we are seeing here in the province of Ontario. Where is all this money going? It's going directly from our pockets and back to Israel through our military spending. So what can we do about it? This is where the process of BDS, or boycott, disrupt / divest and shut down, is so crucial, because it doesn't just impact the genocidal war machine. We need to be doing that right here on a municipal level, on a provincial level, and on a national level, and on an international level. Now more than ever, where we spend our money matters the most, because when we are putting money into the pockets of people who then turn around to our corrupt political system and buy them out, we cannot continue to give them the money to do that. So I'm sorry to everybody here who loves Tim Hortons, and I'm sorry to everybody here who thinks Value Village is so great. You really need to watch where you are spending your money, because when people get into power with the ability to make decisions, like we are seeing right here in this building, a very deliberate, complicit silence on our government's active role in this genocide, we have to ask ourselves, how did I participate in this? And I know I'm talking to people who already know this, but I'm also connected to a very loud speaker in the middle of Yorkville, and I hope a couple of people around here make the decision to wake up today. So yes, I went through a torturous experience. My torture lasted for 5 days. What is it, 9,600 Palestinians who are currently being held, most of them without any sort of criminal charges. And I need to highlight again that 400 of those prisoners are children. So when I love that we are here for one individual person, for Dr. Hussam, but we need to remember everybody. None of us are free until we are all free. And free them all. And that is a municipal issue, and a provincial issue, and a national issue, and an international issue. And so I encourage everybody to look into all the number of ways that you can engage in politics, not just in an international capacity, not just in a national capacity, because our government continues to pass accountability. I just before coming here was on an hour-and-a-half follow-up call with Global Affairs Canada, where they continued to tell us, after taking our testimonies of everything we had experienced, everything that Palestinians, they said, it's not our job and we can't ask them to do it. We need to have a full front assault on all levels of government, hold them each simultaneously, accumulatively accountable. All right, I just want to wrap up with one quick chant. I'm going to say a few things, and then I'm going to ask you, what do we do? And I need you to yell out, stand up, fight back. So when our healthcare system's under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When education's under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When Palestine is under attack, South Lebanon is under attack, children prisoners under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Our government says it won't listen, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Thank you. Doctors, nurses under attack, what do we do?
Silence golden, or is it a crime? Speaking out for justice, now is the time.